Hi everybody, I have a great, amazing discussion for you today and an answer to a question. So the topic is caregiving, and the question is, how do we build emotional reserves or emotional resilience when we are so emotionally drained? So the idea here is to how to understand and manage our emotions, really, because that takes us through those questions. When you think about what upsets us emotionally, what we react to, many times it's a fear or it's a threat that we feel is coming toward us that we have to respond to. So in this video, I'm going to explain why our brain up here reacts negatively to fears or threats, how to give yourself more time to respond, and how thinking of things that make you feel fearful and happy can put a situation into context and help you manage and respond to emotional situations in a more balanced manner. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. On there, tons of hope, help, and support. My podcast, articles, my blog, my library, online caregiver courses, and of course here on YouTube, hundreds of videos answering questions caregivers ask. So please press the share button, press the like button below so that other people looking for this type of help and support can find it. So, big question, why do we feel so emotionally drained? Well, when you think about it, emotions depend a lot on how we identify with other people or with our relationships. So, spouse, friends, coworkers. And then when we take that another step, if we're upset, we feel emotions when a family or a friend or a colleague says or does something, or when they're suffering because we care about them, right? They're part of our life. They affect how we feel about ourselves. And then another step, strangers, right? People we don't even know. We can feel emotional about seeing something on the news or hearing something because we empathize with those people. Then on top of all of this, there's also reasons that we feel emotionally frustrated or angry with other people that we know or we may not even know. But this happens because there's a lack of understanding of the other person's emotions and what they're feeling or thinking, which can be vastly different from ours. Caregivers can feel emotionally up and down because all of the stress affects the ability of our brain to work. Our brain works less efficiently when we're stressed, right? And you know this because the first thought in your mind, if I ask you to do something else, is, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I've got 2 million things. I got too much else going on. I just can't take on anything else, no more. Or you forget to do things like you lose your keys. You leave the house without your purse or wallet. Maybe you filled mom or dad's prescription box and you forgot to put in a medication or a vitamin. Or you were on your way home and you should have went to the pharmacy and you didn't. You came home and now you got to go back. And all of this results in more like emotional stress, right? So let's talk about fear, which is a basic feeling that we all have and usually results in some type of reaction, right? So let's say that you look down at your feet and you see this snake there. Your first thought might be, fear, you're freezing, your heart's racing, your adrenaline's kicking in, and you got to get away from the snake, right? Then there's degrees of fear, right? You might feel fearful, you might be frightened, you might be dreading something that you fear, right? Or feeling anxious about a situation. So every emotion has like the extreme reaction and then like degrees of, well, how bad really is this? Then on the other hand, you look down at your feet and you see puppies. Now, assuming that you like puppies, your mood might be like, oh my gosh, you smile, you bend down, you want to play with them, you want to lay on the floor and let the puppies crawl all over you and lick your face, and you feel an overabundance of happiness and joy. So think about those two situations. You look down and you see the snake and you see the puppy, a threat and what you view as a very positive situation that your brain is going through, right? You can also substitute something else if you aren't afraid of snakes or you don't like puppies. Think of something that makes you afraid and something that you like. So back to the snake. Snake made you jump and you just reacted. You didn't think, you didn't take any time to think. You didn't think, well, wonder what type of snake this is. Is it harmless? Is it going to hurt me? Should I just keep watching the snake and see if it goes away? Is there a reason I should like snakes or not like snakes? Instead, your brain went into high gear and you reacted and you didn't really take any of those steps or think through your mind. Same thing with the puppy. On the other hand, you saw the puppy and you're like, oh my gosh, puppies bring back good feelings, maybe memories of other puppies or dogs you had or your friends. So your reaction, while immediate to the puppy, was, I don't have to get away from the puppy. I want to go toward the puppy. I like the puppy. The puppy's going to make me feel good. So you weren't really responding out of fear. You were responding out of joy, and your brain was kind of thinking of all these other positive things. So part 2 of this is understanding that managing our emotions and understanding them involves a process in the brain where we have to think, right? We can either just react, or we can see something and our brain can go through a process of asking questions and thinking. So this is called kind of like introspection or reflection, and then responding instead of immediately just, got to do this. Which of these do you think results in more positive interactions with other people? Just reacting or thinking about something and then responding? Well, it's the latter. And so in caregiving situations, to better manage your emotions, it's the idea of recognizing a feeling or emotion, like the snake or the puppy, so that you can think about it for a minute and then respond. And then we can take this to a higher level. And this is kind of where the work comes in managing emotions, right? There's something called introspection. And this is where we focus on an experience by looking at it, snake or puppy, and not saying it's negative or positive right away. We take the situation at face value and we think about why we feel the way that we feel. Are we feeling fear? Are we feeling happiness? We're not really feeling anything. So when something happens and you want to react emotionally, if you can stop yourself and ask yourself, well, am I dealing with something that scares me or something that's happy, or maybe something in the middle? Your immediate response might be to react, like in the case of the snake, right? Or it might be to give a situation more thought because you're not really sure if it's good or bad. Another word for this, introspection, takes you to the next step, which is kind of like scrutinizing. And scrutinizing means you're really going to look at a situation closely from all sides before you make a decision or decide what to do or react. And so with an interaction with another person, if something happens and you do feel upset or threatened, you can say, hey, you know what? I don't really know how to respond to that. I want to think about this and let me get back to you because I'm feeling a little fearful or threatened, but I don't know if that's how I should feel, or feeling happy, I need to think about this a little bit. And it's okay to tell people that you need time to think about something. Because when we're fearful, we can react and we can feel threatened and it can go just the wrong way. And technically when we do that, we bypass all of this reflection and introspection because that takes more time from our brain. It takes more work and undivided attention to do that. And so, but when we're a caregiver, we may be so burned out, it's like our brain just short circuits and we kind of miss all that stuff in the middle. And so something happens and we react and it just doesn't turn out the way we want it to. But when we think about something from different perspectives, turn it upside down, backwards and forwards, we may realize that there's really more to the situation that we need to know about so that we can make a good decision or know how to respond. And some of this comes from being inquisitive and asking questions so we understand the other person's thought pattern and why they said what they did. Now, it takes practice to get to this point because, again, we immediately want to respond and react and tell somebody no or say, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, I disagree with you. Well, that really isn't going to work out the situation, is it? It's just going to make us feel more emotionally distraught and we're going to ruminate over this for days and weeks. So understanding and managing emotions takes what's called higher level thinking and gaining emotional intelligence. And what this really means is just simply stopping to think before you react or to say, I need to think about this. Look at your emotions, why you feel the way that you do, and relate this to aspects in your life, past experiences, what you've seen other people do. So here's an example. Let's say that maybe when you were a child, your mom and dad would get into these knockdown, drag-out arguments and they'd be yelling. And you didn't want to stay there, so instead you just went to your room and you retreated until it was all over. So today, you're in an experience where there's conflict and people are disagreeing and you feel very uncomfortable. and you're not sure why, well, might be because that makes you feel how you did when you were a little kid and your parents got into arguments. And so today you run from conflict. You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to talk to people about it because that's not what you did when you were a child. But yet, the problem is all of these things that happen to us as children or in other parts of our lives carry with us. They stay with us unless we learn to work through them. And so if you have a lot of situations where it's like, oh, it's the same thing over and over and over and over again, you want to start asking the question, is this happening because of the way I'm looking at it or the way that I'm responding to it? Am I causing these situations for myself? And if that's happening, then consider being reflective, being introspective, scrutinizing situations, giving yourself more brain time to think about things so that you can recognize why you emotionally react the way that you do. If something's triggering your emotions, if something somebody else does trigger your emotions, what's going on there? What's really beneath all of that? So when you can recognize your emotional patterns and your behaviors and your reactions, you can work to change your responses. It's something that we all can learn to do. But again, we have to recognize what's happening, stop, think, listen, ask questions, ruminate about it for a while, and then figure out what to do. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Thanks for being here for this video. Please again, press the share button, share this video, share my channel with other people you know, looking for hope, help, and support in caregiving situations and in any situation that relates to taking care of others. I'll see you all again soon in another video.